Welcome back to Teaching Math. Today we're going to solve linear equations. Let's start with our first example. X plus 5 equals 12. Let's define why there's an x in our equation. X is a variable and it is a number that is unknown. It is still a number, but we just don't know what it is. So intuitively, you may be able to answer these questions either by subtracting 5 from 12 or just know your additions and subtractions. So if you answered x equals 7, you will be correct. So you may say this was an easy equation, I will be able to do it in my head or intuitively know what it means. But when we are dealing with harder equations, two-step or multi-step equations, that becomes very hard. So let's talk about what does it mean when we are adding 5 to the x. So when I look at this, what I'm thinking about is what's done to my variable. There's an addition, adding 5. So how do I solve it? Then I'm going to think about it this way. It's like solving equations is rewinding a movie, right? It's going backwards in steps and doing the opposite. For instance, basically undoing what was done before in order to find the answer. So think about it this way. So here we have an addition. To undo the addition, I'm going to subtract. And similarly, to undo a subtraction, I'm going to add. Basically, what I'm doing here is rewinding, undoing what was done before to the variable. Similarly, if it's multiplication, I will divide. And if it's a division, I will multiply. Let's take a look how that works algebraically in our equation. So here we have x plus 5 equals 12. So what I'm going to do is subtract 5 from both sides. And that's exactly what you did in your head. You were subtracting 5 or taking away the 5. So therefore, there shouldn't be any 5 next to the x. So therefore, 5 minus 5 is 0. Then I'm going to bring down my x right over here. And then 12 minus 5 equals 7. Well, let's try another example to reaffirm this thing that we are going backwards in our steps and undoing what was done to the variable. X minus 5 equals 15. Okay, so that means there's a number, we subtract 5 and it will equal 15. We discussed in terms of, well, what do we do when we have this kind of situation? We're going to undo. So here we have a subtraction. Well, what is the opposite of subtraction? It is an addition. So what will I do? I will add 5 to both sides. And remember, I said about I'm going to take away the 5 from one side, the side that has the x. But look at this over here. It's still equaling to 0. And by addition here, still I'm working to take away that 5 from the side where the x is. So I'm going to bring my x down here. And then 15 plus 5 will equal 20. So our x is 20. Let's take a look at another equation. So let's go ahead and do x divide 8 equals 6. Okay, so from here, you may be extremely confused when this happens. So what I want you to think about, you're going to see it like this as a fraction, x divided by 8. Or you might see it like this, x divided by 8 equals 6. So again, the same story is happening. We're going to go backwards. So if we have division here, what are we going to do? We're going to multiply, basically doing the opposite. So in both ways written, it's still the same thing. Students are confusing this as a fraction. Remember, fraction is a division. So it's the same thing. What do? We're going to multiply both sides by 8. So I'm going to do that times 8 on both sides. Okay, so those two 8s will cancel because 8 times x equals 8x. 8x divided by 8 will be 1. 1 times x is x. Okay, so let's go ahead and write x in here. Again, same story. We were trying to get rid of that 8 from the side where x is. Okay, 6 times 8 is 48. And that will be our answer. As you can see, the pattern is all the same. Let's try one more. Okay, so I'm going to write this 2 times x, now I'm using multiplication, equals 36. Now think about it this way, 2 times x, but it's never written like this. We usually write it like this, 2x. And this is where the confusion comes when the students are trying to figure this out. They can connect to x that 2 is multiplied by x equals 36. So mostly you will see it like this, but think about it. It is 2 times x, 2 times a number that we do not know. Okay, we're going to go back and think about what did we do? How do we undo multiplication? To undo multiplication, we got to do division, which is the opposite of multiplication. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to divide both sides, right? Divide both sides by 2. Okay, these 2 will cancel, and then 36 divided by 2 will equal 18. All right, let's try another, but you might think about, okay, so we're just using positive numbers. What happens when I have a negative variable? What should I do now? I'm working on some of the examples that students usually confuse, okay? And so if you know those examples, the rest will be way easier. What if I had negative x, let's say minus 5 equals, let's say 22. How do we solve this? We're going to do exactly what we've done before. Opposite of subtraction is addition. So we're going to work on addition. So we're going to add 5 to both sides. Okay, so obviously we took away that 5 from next to x. So we're going to bring the x down, negative x equals 27. Okay, do we stop here or do we continue? Because we still have that negative x in here. Well, what does it mean when we have negative x? Negative x means that this is negative 1 times x. So we're not done yet. There is still a multiplication here. Therefore, we need to do division. So let's go ahead and divide both sides with negative 1, because negative x is the same thing as negative 1 times x. Okay, going to bring x down, so 27 divided by negative 1 is negative 27. If we had just x, we would have stopped there, because if we divide 27 by 1, it will still be the same number. So therefore, we do not continue. That's where we stop. But if we have negative, that will change the number. Imagine 27 and negative 27 are not the same numbers, right? 1, I owe you money, negative 27. 1, I don't owe you any money. I have $27. Okay, now let's try some two-step equations, which will be just a little bit more complex. So we have 2x plus 4 equals 28. Okay, so what do we do here? Here's one thing that's very confusing for the students. Where should we start? Should we subtract 4 from both sides, or should we divide everything by 2? I would say this, you know what's the order of operation, right? Parentheses, exponents, and then multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. So when you're doing backwards, when you're going backwards in your steps, then you should be starting from the last step, which was addition and subtraction. So that's where you start. You start with addition and subtraction when you're moving back your steps. So when we're undoing, we're going to start with subtracting 4, because opposite of addition is subtraction, 4 from both sides. And this is a very important point to understand what to do first. Okay, so let's bring the 2x down. Obviously, 4 minus 4 is 0. That's why we took away that 4. And then 28 minus 4 will be 24. All right, here we're going to divide. Obviously, 2x means it's 2 times x. So because it is a multiplication, we're going to divide, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Divide by 2. And so then x equals 12. All right, here we are. This is how to solve linear equations. So let's recap what we've done before. In summary, when solving linear equations, what we're doing is we're going back in steps. We're thinking about what was done to our variable and then undoing what was done. To undo addition, we are subtracting. To undo subtraction, we are doing addition. To undo multiplication, we will divide, and to undo division, we will multiply. And one thing to remember here is when we have 2x, that means it's 2 times x. And when it's written as a fraction, right? For instance, x over 2, this means a division, x divide by 2. So those are the key elements to know in order to be successful solving your linear equations and doing really well in your test. Okay, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. And if you want to deepen your knowledge about how to solve multi-step equations, please look up for the video multi-step equations in the description below. And remember, learning math takes patience, practice, and perseverance. See you on the next one.